Don't go chasing waterfalls.
My name is Chris Marin. This will be my update for the month of August and a lot of catching up. In fall of 2020, during the pandemic, I was given the opportunity to teach figure drawing at Texas Tech University. At the same time of doing this, I was, working as a dairy manager at a grocery store. I was working with Lubbock Arts Alliance for an after-school program for elementary kids in the communities that need it. That would be the north and east side of Lubbock. And I was teaching at Condra School, which is a school for students with learning differences. That experience put a lot of things into perspective for someone like myself on a day-to-day basis. It's not to say anything like this person has something worse than I do, and maybe objectively so, but it's just saying, and a reminder that everybody has a closet and you wouldn't trade what's in your closet for theirs and vice versa. That's a line from mid-90s. I got my MFA from California College of the Arts, and I wanted to teach. That was my reason for getting that degree, was so that way I could be a professor at the same time that I was, working as a grocery store manager, working as an elementary school art teacher. I was very, very lucky that Tech gave me the opportunity to teach college courses, be an instructor for figure drawing, which is something I'm very comfortable with, and it's just right place, right time scenario where, maybe I wasn't the most qualified, but I was definitely the best for that time. Yes, I'm very strong at it, but, you have your doubts, and I don't think it's something close to imposter syndrome, but it was just something I'm very aware of, trying and submitting, having applications for many years and not many, for so many years, and not being successful in one application, not getting a call back. It felt good, and I was constantly studying, trying to give them a really good and sound experience in the anatomy when it came to figure drawing, as well as that artistic expression was something a little more natural. When I'm relaxed, I can deliver that, but coupling that with constant studying, as it was my start. It is my start. So when the job interviews happened this time around, or the applications happened, and I actually got callbacks and emails, it was, I didn't really know what to think and how hopeful to be. I made it through the first round of the job interviews for LSU and another university. When LSU emailed me back asking for a phone call, I thought this was going to be another more spontaneous from somebody like myself on my end, a spontaneous interview. So I immediately went home, brewed coffee, got on Zoom, or took the phone call, and we got on Zoom. They offered me the job right then and there, and of course I said yes. I'm very grateful to be here, and it feels like a natural progression, as far as like everything in my life has seemed very direct, straight line into whatever it is I am now and what I'm supposed to be. I have an idea of how things will move forward. Things are slowly coming true, and I'm checking off those. I say slowly. It's honestly been I would say a fast track to success. But maybe it can feel slow in the moment, or the idea that, I don't want to go back to working 3-4 jobs at one time. It's tough. And as I don't know, I think I run the risk of sounding privileged and sounding I don't know, ungrateful, but I know for myself that was very hard. I would constantly say, especially like during the summers in those downtimes, or maybe even through the thick of it, like, I don't really remember on a day-to-day basis, but I do remember telling myself, okay, one more year, I can do one more year, and that's as much as I could think about it, as far as this like idea of hustling and having all these jobs. So I got the call, accepted the offer. I was still in limbo with this other university, but ultimately they went with somebody else, and my backup plan of LSU was something that honestly I was leaning more towards, just because of the idea that I'm coming here. I'm the one of two. I'm the assistant professor of practice, artist in residence, and so they allow me to be here, teach 2 undergrad classes, 1 grad course, and then I get to make work, and they give me a studio space to make work. For someone like myself, the studio practice is so important, so I'm very grateful to maybe this is more of an in-between to a full-time professorship, but or something maybe with a 10-year track and things like that, just more security. I think that somebody in the art field, we take a lot of sacrifice when it comes to what we will do in the meantime as we create and subsidize our practice. I'm trying to find the word, trying to think of what the word is, although I probably don't know it. So that's a little bit of the background. So August 9th, I moved from Lubbock, Texas to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I packed, my family helped me. They gave me furniture, which is really nice. The idea that maybe this contract will be renewed and I can have 2 years of living in a space that looks nice. Maybe I'll go into things that I did more so living like a nomad, and things were not necessarily comfortable for me. But so we packed a U-Haul. My mom and sister took off, and they drove to Dallas, where they stayed in a hotel. Often stubborn, and also know that I have the U-Haul. I need to get there first. Got to talk to the landlord. So I just booked it. I slept in like whatever gas station I slept at. I just wanted to make it past the DFW area. I mean, it was like 11-hour trip, and I think only 4 of those hours are in Louisiana. The rest was all driving through Texas. Slept in a gas station parking lot, and then got up X amount of hours later, paranoid as can be, and drove the rest of the way to Baton Rouge. I tried to do it in an efficient amount of time. So when I arrived, it was raining. Signed the lease, paid the landlord first month's rent, and waited a little bit until the rain stopped, died down, and then started moving everything. My mom and sister which was very nice of them, and I know my mom wants to send me off goodbye. Same for my sister. Her and I started to develop a closer relationship over time, over these last years as adults, adult age. We moved everything. I contacted the school. The next day, they gave me the keys to the studio, which we're at right now, and kind of just started to acquaint myself with where things are at. Of course, I still gotta drive with maps. I don't know how to get around this place. Luckily, I live 2 miles away from the college, so I just bike every day. Orientation was on the 16th, the week before. Classes started on August 23rd. I'm teaching figure drawing, 8:30 a.m. Then this is Monday, Wednesday, and drawing composition, which is intro drawing, at 12:30, and then I have the grad group crit at 3:30. So it's a full day of teaching, which, I mean, honestly, like I said, coming from Contra school, I would work a full day, so about 8.5 to 9 hours at the elementary school, and then turn around and teach my night class at Tech for figure drawing. I only did that for about 2 months, I want to say, as much as it's going to take adjusting to get used to this schedule. I know it can be much worse, and I don't know where I heard it from, but the 80-20%, you want 80% of your job to be your passion, to be fun, and 20% to be labor, to actually be work, the stuff that you may not enjoy. So if you can fight for that ratio, maybe for some people it's 90-10. I don't have much room to complain. Going along not that I even want to complain. I just, maybe from the outside it can seem difficult. I just better prep. I just better come ready. I don't know. The pressure's on me. In preparation for this grad group course, I reached out to, and he's a YouTuber, Professor Sky. Not just a YouTuber, he's a French professor, now the chair of his department. I reached out to him. I started watching his reviews. Specifically, the video that got me pulled into him was Haram, as a review by Arm & Hammer, which is 2 people, a rap group, and The Alchemist. I was just so impressed, and obviously he's an academic, so I guess what that does is it would lean him more towards speaking about literature in a specific way. I just enjoyed all his insight. He's a very smart person, and you don't have to be an academic to be smart, but he is, right? So, not to disqualify anybody, but to qualify him. I immediately wanted to ask him a question. I think it was more out of like an insecurity for this class, and somebody like myself, I'm barely older, if not their age, or some people are older than me in this. Does that mean something? Not necessarily, but I know that people are going to be smarter than me. I don't want to have an ego. You get on the Mike Tyson thing and talking about ego death. I don't want to have an ego going into the class, but I do want to be prepared. I do want to give them information that I've studied and learned. So that's where the pressure, I would say, is going to come from someone like myself. It's going to come from me to study and make sure that I'm prepping enough, that I'm presenting, and entertaining. I don't want to go to a class that's boring. The passion of that professor, instructor, and the way the material is going to be delivered is going to make the course interesting. So I reached out to Professor Sky and asked him for readings. I joined his Patreon. And he was nice enough to get back to me. I know that he's going through changes as well. I don't know where that really is going, but And it's like I said, it was more out of me feeling as though I wasn't prepared enough. So maybe as the time has gone on, I have a little more confidence in figuring things out on my own and navigating. Okay, these are the readings. For instance, this is the old book that we had at California College of the Arts. The first semester. This was Contemporary History and Theory 1. There's an insane amount of information there, but I need to understand what I want to do. And there's just so many articles in there that I did read. I think my first semester I was reading like 50 pages a night until eventually I said, no, I'm not reading 50 pages a night. And I think there are smarter ways I can go about rereading the information and introducing it to my brain and learning it enough to present it. The studio practice for me is so important, I never really stop it. So as I sit here today, I'm in the studio. I have work up. I have work all over the place, kind of stashed around as I'm wanting to prepare for this first vlog series, I suppose. I mean, I have a lot of plans as well, and what I want to do with this, wanting to create something called Always Thinking with Chris Marin. This idea of having almost like a podcast style, talking to people, communicating with you guys, these updates, but also wanting to hold interviews with artists and writers and I guess anybody around the art world, but I would also want to expand, much like I do in my artwork, expanding the medium. That comes from Rosalind Krauss with the expansion, with postmodernism and how she's expanding the idea of art and land art and sculpture. That idea resonated with me, especially coming from a background that's not necessarily sculpture. I think I'm somebody who taps into both realms, sculptural paintings, but I want, whatever I do, I want for it to expand that definition. I will interview, writers, musicians, visual artists, performing artists. I think that's where a lot of, like, grad school, for instance, is supposed to be, or has the potential to be the time of your life. I think it's a lot of highs and lows, the love roller coaster, but what it does, I think, is it surrounds you with people who are willing to have certain conversations. As I'm talking about that, I'm also thinking in the back of my head how that is a double-edged sword, the idea of monoculture, of I don't know, I'm somebody who is a contrarian. I go against the grain a lot of times. I'll explain later, maybe in certain pieces. I'm hesitant, obviously, not to censor myself, but I wonder how much to give in the now, and how much should it just show up when it shows up. I'm thinking specifically about my artwork and what I'm doing with it. So this is very, very important to me, and I just don't stop. I'm also, in the background, there's guys cleaning up. Also, this is my mug from my friend Eric Parr. Shout out Eric Parr. It's a little, maybe this mug is only for the house, but gotta live up to it. I'm not there yet, not there. Maybe one day, but maybe for someone, rather. Not there yet. So, as I was saying, there's three people I've been interacting with pretty recently. Later on today, I have a meeting with Gabby McGalley. Her and I will meet through Zoom. She's over, I believe, in San Antonio at the moment. Her and I will have a 2-person show at Bee's Cave, and at Contra Common Gallery. I'm excited to work with somebody so striking as her. Her work is very direct, and I admire that. That's something that I just don't do the same thing. So being able to be matched up with somebody, there's a leniency to want to become one voice, but and maybe we stick with our own path, which is probably what's going to happen. Just being artists, we will rub off upon each other in some ways, but I think that this could be a really great freaking show. She's very good herself, so I'm very happy to work with her. There's also Wesley Chavez. Wes is the other visiting assistant professor. He's the other assistant professor of practice, artist in residence here at LSU. I just have a really good time around him. The younger version of me would have immediately, said no in some ways, but him and I, on our first day of meeting each other, we went out to eat, had Malbec red wine, which is my favorite kind of wine, and I was just so impressed. I was so surprised. He specifically asked for it, and I was just tripping out. I'm not the biggest guy when it comes to drinking anything really, but I told myself I would like to celebrate this, because whatever, the sad truth is I didn't really celebrate the job, and I kept it to myself. A lot of that was some sort of feeling shame. Lastly is god dang it, never learning anybody's last name. Miles Kenny. Miles has this way of opening up, and in some ways we are, in some ways we're not, but it seems like this guy is cut from the same cloth that I am. Not so similar background as far as childhood goes, but it's there, the evidence of coming from something that's not pretty. And it's no shot against my parents, but it's just the reality of things. It's not as beautiful as it would seem. So Miles Kenny is the bromance guy. He's the third year. He's a third-year grad here at LSU, and I just remember talking to him and saying that I was gonna change some of this stuff for him. I want to have a direct impact with him specifically. He's not in my grad group crit course, but I just feel that sensation to help somebody out. Don't know where it comes from. We can analyze it later. I don't give a crap right now. I don't want to analyze it. It's just I want to help him out. So as people send me things, I'm also sending him those. Just want to set him up for success. It is, Tuesday, August 31st. On Sunday night, Hurricane Ida hit, and the city is still being cleaned up. That's again, I don't know if you can really hear the audio at this point, but there's the guys on campus going around and cleaning up a lot of the debris that's all over. There's branches, leaves everywhere. Some places are really devastated as far as having property damage for the fences, but here in Baton Rouge, at least the area that I'm at, like I said, I'm only 2 miles away from the college. It didn't really get affected so much. I'm very lucky for that. But what was the biggest problem, especially as things play out, seems to be that power was out sometime during the night, because I know I woke up and it was so freaking hot. If you know what it's like down here, it's just humid and you just start sweating bad. It's humid and hot, much different from Lubbock, which is hot but dry. And I would say before midnight hit, I lost signal. So the next day I came, on Monday, yesterday, I came to the studio, and I was in hopes that there would be power here, and I have access to the Wi-Fi. So I started to make phone calls and text. Some people have it really, really bad and really rough. Luckily, they have everything here, right? Power, signal, water. So last night, it's ridiculous. I rode my bike back home. I got everything that I needed for the night. More art supplies that I needed to move anyways, but also stuff from the refrigerator and my cot and a blanket. Just very minimal. No pillow really. I just put a towel underneath my head. I moved in here for the night to at least have like a fan on me. This is such a simple complaint, but I'm very lucky in I'm very fortunate to have a place that has power. So yeah, last night I slept in the studio. That I'm kind of just going back and forth between places, but making it work. Classes were canceled, so for the rest of today I have the meeting with Gabby. Be making a lot of work, or making more progress on work. I have some sewing to do, figuring out how to attach it onto that thing back there, and some embroidery. It's this black duck cloth fabric. Working out, go back home, shower, see what the situation is like as far as my power goes while I'm at the apartment, and if I have to, I'll come back here and sleep for the night. I'm lucky, really lucky. I'm looking forward to the semester and what is to come. Last thing for the studio is, just trying to connect these dots and how to get the artwork to be almost more like me. Not that I'm somebody that I want to model being art after, but how can I be funny? How can I make these like sly political remarks? Something to critique maybe what I identify as, and as tricky as identity goes. In the 5 or arguably 6 themes of contemporary art, you have, if I can rattle them off my head or pull up a piece of paper. I always forget one, and I know the 6th one too. Body, identity, spirituality, science, place and time, and then the 6th one is memory. I reached out to my old professor, Dr. Orfila. She teaches at TTU. I took her art history survey 3 course. She responded to me immediately, ordered the book right then and there. It's amazing. Art historians are very enthusiastic. They're performance artists in a lot of ways. Trying to get back to that grad group crit course that I'm teaching. Finding ways of the highbrow and lowbrow, how to talk about something. So I want to have, my work predominantly deals with identity. I don't know how you skirt around the idea of identity, but coming in with comedy, having these political remarks, the personality and morality, the thinking about life in a serious tone, and whatever else describes me, whether it is spirituality, place and time and memory. All these things are overlapping in my work. and then I'm going back and looking at Heems, and specifically his project Eat Pray Thug. It's just it's doing that back and forth thing. It's what I originally attracted me when I was thinking, maybe when I was like 20, thinking about Tupac and how he is an artist that could go back and make like a song like Changes, and then flip and make the songs I Get Around, and this idea that you can show off all parts of you, and each song, each piece, each work, you just have that thing, the aspect of you, and turn it up to 100. When maybe that only takes up like 15% of you, your personality, your character. You, in this one avenue, I can turn it up to 100 and make that all of me. Trying to reflect how to put the personality into the artwork. Maybe never ending, and I always feel like I'm getting closer and closer. So that's it for this August update. This is Always Thinking with Chris Marin.